Welcome to my channel. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Warning: spoilers for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 8, Upper Deck Star Trek. Lower Decks just cleverly reversed the Star Trek, the Next Generation episode that inspired it. As Star Trek Lower Decks' fifth and final season on Paramount Plus nears the finish line, the crew of the USS Cerritos takes a break from its current mission of closing fissures in space that lead to alternate Star Trek timelines. Star Trek Lower Decks' episodic format allows Season 5, Episode 8, Upper Decks, to be a one-off that flips Star Trek The Next Generation Season 7's Lower Decks, the first half-hour animated Star Trek comedy series. Star Trek Lower Decks is also the heir to Star Trek The Next Generation's popular 24th century era. Star Trek Lower Decks picks up a year after Star Trek Nemesis ends, and the USS Cerritos voyages in the wake of the events of TNG, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and Star Trek Voyager. One of Lower Decks' distinctive calling cards is how lovingly the show and Star Trek Lower Decks' characters reference the breadth of the Star Trek franchise that came before it. But Lower Decks is also a purposeful and ingenious reversal of Star Trek's classic format. Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 8, Upper Decks, brilliantly reversed the format of Star Trek The Next Generation Season 7, Episode 15, Lower Decks. Amusingly, by doing so, Star Trek Lower Decks became like Star Trek The Next Generation for one episode. By focusing on the bridge crew of the USS Cerritos, Upper Decks proved Lieutenant Beckett Mariner Tawny Newsome wrong that nothing exciting happens to the Cerritos' senior officers. The USS Cerritos' bridge crew certainly live exciting lives. Captain Carol Freeman, Dawn Lewis, balanced her daily appointments with her crew to repel an insectoid alien takeover of the Cerritos. Commander Jack Ransom, Jerry O'Connell, used offbeat means to get a group of ensigns to work together. Dr. Tana, Gillian Vigman, learned a lesson about her pain tolerance versus the crew's LT. Commander Andy Billups, Paul Scheer, solved a crisis in engineering, and LT. Jack's Fred Tade story faced his own traumatic past against the Cardassians. In truth, exciting things happen to the USS Cerritos' bridge crew all the time on Star Trek Lower Decks. But the show's format centered on the junior officers like Mariner, LT, Bradward Boimler, Jack Quaid, and their friends. Still, Star Trek Lower Decks' senior officers have regularly faced their share of dangers. Captain Freeman has gone on secret missions and was even framed by the Paycolds, LT. Shax died and was resurrected, and Commander Ransom was turned into a powerful psychic being by strange energies. Star Trek The Next Generation's Lower Decks, breaking the show's format, is one of the reasons why it's so memorable. Shifting the focus to a group of junior officers on the USS Enterprise D was a breath of fresh air that let audiences see the bridge crew like Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, Commander William Riker, Jonathan Frakes, and LT. Worf, Michael Dorn, the way their subordinates see them. Lower Decks was also an early proof of concept that Star Trek is interesting even if it tells the stories of lesser-known Starfleet characters. Star Trek Lower Decks creator Mike McMahon cites Lower Decks as his favorite Star Trek The Next Generation episode and the clear inspiration for his animated comedy. Of course, the enduring legacy of Star Trek The Next Generation's Lower Decks is tragedy. Ensign Cito Jaxa, Shannon Phil, was killed in the line of duty during a secret mission involving the Cardassians. Ceto's death hit audiences hard, and Star Trek Lower Deck Season 4 revealed it was a fundamental event that altered the course of LT. Beckett Mariner's Starfleet career. Mariner was friends with Ceto in Starfleet Academy, and losing Jaxa forged Beckett's belief that she must remain a lower decker so that she never sends her friends to die. Star Trek Lower Decks is the first Star Trek series to consistently be about the junior officers of a starship. But Star Trek Discovery actually broke the mold first. Series creator Brian Fuller originally intended Star Trek Discovery to be an anthology that focused on a different starship and crew each season. One of Fuller's other innovations for Discovery was breaking Star Trek's tried and true format, where the captain is the main character and leads a main cast comprised of a bridge crew. Star Trek Deep Space Nine also initially broke Star Trek's format by setting the show on a space station instead of a starship, where the lead character was Commander Benjamin Sisko, Avery Brooks. Sisko became captain 3 seasons later. Star Trek Discovery's main character, Michael Burnham, Sonequa Martin Green, was a commander and first officer when the series began. After committing mutiny, Burnham was an unranked specialist for most of Star Trek Discovery Season 1, and the show's heroics were performed by Burnham and other USS Discovery lower deckers like LT, Paul Stamets, Anthony Rapp, and Ensign Sylvia Tilly, Mary Wiseman. Burnham eventually became the USS Discovery's captain, and Star Trek Discovery embraced the classic Star Trek format, centering on the bridge crew in its later seasons.